Hi, I'm Jennifer Bardot, and I'm the host today on the Grit Talk Show. And I'm excited to have the guest, Cathy Davis, who is the ultimate publisher, and she has helped me with all 5 of the Deconstructing Grit collection anthologies. So, on that note, Cathy, can you share a little bit about who you are?
Oh, I'd love to. So, in addition to being a publisher, I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom of 2. I have an 11 and a 9.5-year-old grandson. And luckily, they all live here in St. Louis, so I get to see them frequently. I am a dogma. I have a little 30-pound rescue dog that, rules our roost. I am a wife. My husband, Jack, is in business with me also. And at the same time, I'm an artist. Originally, I went to college to be an artist, and I love spending my weekends doing fun, crafty things.
That's really cool. So very dynamic. And I personally have really enjoyed working with you and Jack and Julie and your entire team. So what took you into becoming a publisher?
So actually, this is our 20th year. As of this December, I was working for a global financial institution as their creative director for one of their marketing departments for the trust division. And our department was downsized in December of 2003. I began doing independent consulting at that time. And not too long after that, around 2005, one of our clients was writing a book and asked if we could help. And about that time, I was also able to mentor with a publisher out in the LA area who taught me what I needed to know about the traditional as well as the independent and DIY arena. And from that point on, around 2008, that's when Amazon started doing the DIY. And our business just started increasing for publishing consistently. And now 99% of the projects that we do that come through our agency is publishing.
That's incredible. And I know when I was stepping into becoming a curator of these anthologies, you were the first person that I reached out to because we were a part of a mastermind together. And I had already heard Cathy Davis, and all these different anthologies. So in the women's arena, you particularly spend a lot of your time in that space. So what has drawn you to supporting women to share their voice?
Yeah, it's important to me that women find their voice and they learn how to step up and speak up. And in doing so, they lift up others. And primarily over the 30 anthologies that we've done, I would say a good 90% of those authors, and it ranges from anywhere from 20 to 40 plus per book, are female. And I love watching the process because we'll have women come in that will say, well, what do I have to say that anybody wants to hear? Or we'll have someone say, I don't know how to put 2 sentences together, but we pair them with a writing coach. Each anthology has its own designated writing coach. And no matter where someone is in the process, whether they've done a brain dump or whether they have no clue where to start, that writing coach can help them take their chapter to the finish line. And they don't have to write that many words. It's 1,500 to 2,000. So it's a doable homework project.
Absolutely. And I know you and your team have supported me with all 5 of my anthologies, but I'm most excited about you participating in my final T of Tenacity. So can you kind of give us a preview of what that chapter is looking like?
Well, and I've loved the process because it's allowed me to see what the author goes through. And this particular chapter that I'm writing in Tenacity, the next book that launches in early November, I recalled an incident when I was still in corporate and I was on an airplane to somewhere, and I ended up sitting next to a gentleman who worked at Disney. And he handed me his business card, and his title said Disney Imagineer. And like a little 4-year-old, I remember I got all excited, and I'm throwing questions at him constantly. I'm like, well, what do you do? What's your day like? And just, poor guy, was so nice and just answered all my questions. But what I found out, the main role of an Imagineer is to think outside of the box. And so the title of my chapter, I relate back to this incident in meeting this gentleman, and I still have his business card as a reminder to think outside of the box. And the title of my chapter coming up in Tenacity is The Way of the Imagineer. And I talk about different points that he made and how he related to his team and how he even had to push managers to the point of thinking outside of their box, because it was his goal and his job to not let anyone tell him no. And I loved that, how that correlated with the word tenacity, and that you have to have tenacity, and you have to be able to say, let's not worry about whether we think we can do it. Let's just go ahead and try it. And that's what I love about that, being able to write this chapter and really go through the steps, working with the writing coach to know what it's like as an author. It's been an amazing experience.
So participating as an author, it sounds like it was an incredible journey. What was it like really experiencing the team?
Yeah, it gave me a chance to work with each member of our team, and it allowed me to see how involved they actually get with the project and with the book. And at the same time, I also got to see what it's like to be the author and the stress of trying to come up with 1,500 words. And even though it doesn't sound like it very much, if you're used to writing those 500-word blogs, you've got to come up with 3 of those pretty much to fill that space and still have that copy be intriguing and interesting for potential readers. And our whole goal with these books is to, as I mentioned earlier, help women step up, speak up, and lift up. And you'll be amazed, well, you wouldn't because you get to hear this also, but I've been amazed at how many people as readers who have commented and said, oh, wow, after reading your chapter, I don't feel like I'm the only one that feels that way. Or I needed to hear your story because now I know I'm not alone. And that's important for women to be able to find that community, that connection. And I know right after the pandemic, there was a study that said what we all missed the most was we feel like we'd lost our sense of community, and we felt that we lost our sense of, what was the other one? Hope. And ironically, that's one of the things that I have noticed that these books do, is that people are buying these types of books because it's very similar to the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. But these are the types of stories that you can read on a short drive or while you're waiting in line to pick up the kids from school, or if you're on an airplane headed someplace. It's a short enough read, but yet there's a story in there that intrigues you enough to continue and finish that story. And hopefully at the end you have that uplift, that moment where you go, oh yeah, this is a hero's journey type of story where women have overcome and they're sharing their stories. And it's some amazing stories that we pull in.
Absolutely. And that was the whole premise of why I wanted to publish Owning Your Grit, is really to humanize hardships and create hope from these journeys of being able to identify yourself and step into the shoes of these other authors in these anthologies. So thank you for helping. We've pulled over 207 women in these anthologies, these 4 or 5 anthologies together. So, and I know that's a small ratio of helping amplify the voices of women within my Deconstructing Grit collection, but how many women do you think you've supported along that journey?
We recently did a tally, and over the past probably 10 years, we've published 500 independent solo books and close to 30. Actually, Tenacity will be our 30th, so we get to celebrate, both the launch of your book and our 20 years in business, as well as our 30th anthology, all in the same month. So, and what I've noticed most about these books, and I think that's why it was such a great connection for me to be able to work with you, because you have the same vision and the same mission, very similar as what we have. I'm perhaps a generation ahead of you, but I know when I was growing up, especially here in the Midwest, women weren't allowed to speak unless spoken to. And that's part of why I do this, is to let women have a voice and let that voice shine and let that voice be heard. And I love how after they've gone through this process, the level of confidence you can tell. And so many women have, after they have written these stories in your books, they've gone on to think outside of the box.
Yep.
They've started their own businesses. They have gotten promotions, or actually, started nonprofits even. I mean, it's been amazing if we were to look back and actually had a spreadsheet, which Julie loves to do, we could have her help us with that, and of what was the next step after that chapter. And it would be fun to take a look at that.
That's really incredible. And I do think every time we share our story, a little more of us heals and we get reignited because of that reflective process of seeing all that we've endured and the strength that we have to be here in this moment now. So I love that. And we very much are in the same mission of creating hope and amplifying voices of women. And that's how the talk show came about, is truly, you know, helping women gain more visibility and own their voice and their story. And I love that, because this is a lot of women's first time tiptoeing into becoming a published author. And I know a lot of my contributing authors have then went on and published their own books with you as individuals. So
and that's an amazing aspect of the process also, is that they've gotten the courage and the confidence to take that next step, because it's almost like, wow, now I know what it's like to write one chapter. I just multiply that times 10 or 12 and I have a whole book. And it's an amazing process to watch. And one of the authors that was in your book, I recall, she wrote that chapter, quit her job, and started her own business. And it was just like all within about 2 months. And it was like, holy cannoli. But yeah, it's fun to watch the growth.
That's incredible. And I love that together we've collectively supported so many women, and it's just been a really fun journey. So thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for supporting me along this journey with amplifying the voices of women and creating hope from hardship. So
thank you for entrusting us to help you do that too.
Absolutely. They're all international bestsellers. And it's been just a tremendous experience, because you are such an amazing sounding board. Whenever I had an idea, you'd bounce it right back to me because of your creative spirit. And I'm so appreciative to have trusted you with, these are my babies.
They are.
Yes.
Yeah. No, thank you. I've enjoyed every minute of it. Yeah.
It's incredible. So is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close today?
One of the things that I say to myself every morning is the simple phrase is, today I'm up to no good. But no is spelled K-N-O-W. And that probably for the last 10 or 12 years has just been a thought that, for me, starts my day and helps me set my mind straight so that today is going to be a good day.
I love that. And for some reason, it took me to your book, Ruth Bader Smith.
Yes. Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yes.
Yeah, loved that book too.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, thank you for being that rebel and that beacon of hope for women. And it's been an incredible journey, Cathy.
Thank you, Jennifer. I've loved it. Thank you.